Assalamualaikum and a very good morning. Okay, let's continue our chapter 6. Yeah, the title of the chapter 6 is the sexual reproduction in flowering plants. Okay, so our subtitle or subtopic for today is 6.3 pollination and fertilization. Okay, please get ready and open your textbook and try to understand. Okay, so we are going to learn about the pollination and fertilization. As you can see in the diagram here, yeah, okay, so this is referred to the pollen grain. Yeah, pollen grain that produce in the anther. Yeah, okay. So do you still remember the development of the pollen grain? Yeah, the pollen grain developed in the anther by the process of the meiosis and also mitosis. Okay, and then the pollen grain will stick on the stigma. So that is referred to the pollination. Okay, later we will discuss more about that. Yeah? Okay, so this is referred to the formation of the pollen tube. Yeah, formation of the pollen tube when the pollen grains stick on the stigma. Okay, let's go to the learning standards that you have to cover for today. Okay, first you have to describe pollination. Dalam bahasa Melayunya, pendebungaan. Ya, pendebungaan. Okay, number 2, describe the formation of the pollen tube. Yeah, formation of the pollen tube, and then the formation of the male gametes. Okay, and then number 3, explain the double fertilization in the formation of the diploid zygote and also triploid nucleus. Yeah, and then number 4, justify the importance of the double fertilization for the survival of the flowering plants. Okay, so what we are going to discuss today is about the pollination and also the double fertilization. Yeah, so why fertilization is important here? Fertilization will cause the production of the fruit and also seeds. Okay, seed is very important to enable the survival of the plants. Okay. Right, okay, we go to the formation of the pollen tube and male gamete. Okay, first of all, we go to the pollination. So what is the meaning of pollination? Yeah, pendebungaan. The process in which pollen grains are transferred from anther to stigma. Okay, please remember pollen grain transfer from the anther. Why anther? Because pollen grain is produced there. Yeah, to the stigma. Okay, stigma here can refer to the female part of the flower. Okay, then pollination assists by pollinating agent. Okay, pollinating agent ini merujuk kepada agent pendebungaan. Okay, example of the pollinating agent are any insect, right? Okay, like ants, yeah, right? Okay, and mammals. Okay, mammals, yeah, example of bat, birds, yeah, water, and also wind. Alright, okay, the presence of the pollen grain on the stigma triggers fertilization. So this is referred to the pollination process whereby the pollen grain are transferred from the anther to the stigma. So once this pollen grain stick on the stigma, it will trigger the fertilization. Yeah, trigger for the fertilization. Okay, next. We have to discuss, okay, what happened when the pollen grain, when the pollen grain stick on the stigma. Okay, so the pollen grain from the anther here stick on the stigma. Okay, so when after the pollination occur, what happened? Yeah, what the process of occur? Yeah, after that. Okay, number 1. Yeah, the wall of the anther from mature pollen grain will dry, shrink, and split. Yeah, so the wall of the anther will dry, shrink, and split. Split ni pecah, yeah. Okay, the pollen grains in the pollen sac are released. So now the pollen grain are released. Yeah, okay. The released pollen grains are transferred to the stigma of the same flower or different flowers by pollinating agent. Okay, so this one is referred to the before pollination. Yeah, okay, before pollination, number 1, and then the pollination occur, number 2. Right? Okay, then number 3, the pollen grains that have been transferred to the stigma will germinate. Okay, the words of the germinate. Germinate ni maksudnya percambahan. Okay, the pollen grain just now, yeah, that stick on the stigma, okay, will germinate. Apa maksud germinate? Percambahan. Apa maksud percambahan? The pollen grain will form a pollen tube. Ya, dia akan bercambah. Okay, dia akan berkembang and then dia akan develop a pollen tube. It is a tube, yeah, tube, right? Tube that enter into the style, right? Okay, the pollen tube grows down towards the ovule through the style. Okay, the pollen tube grows down towards the ovule through the style. Okay, then, okay, number 4, the generative nucleus will move along the pollen tube towards the ovule. Yeah, the generative nucleus. Yeah, so actually there is a 2 type of the nucleus in the pollen grain. Do you still remember that? Yeah, in the pollen grain there are 2 types of the nucleus. Okay, what are they? Generative nucleus and another one is tube nucleus. Okay, so what happened to the generative nucleus? Yeah, so the generative nucleus will move along the pollen tube towards the ovule. Okay, so this is referred to the pollen tube, right? Okay, so the pollen tube, the generative nucleus will move along here, yeah, okay, move along here, and then what happened? At the same time, the generative nucleus will divide, yeah, divide by mitosis to form 2 male gametes. Okay, so the generative nucleus just now will divide by mitosis. Yeah, bila mitosis it will produce 2. Yeah, 2 male gametes. So the generative nucleus now is divide into 2 male gametes here. Okay, when once is male gamete, so it is haploid. Alright, so this is referred to the tube nucleus. Yeah, okay, this is tube nucleus. Then, okay, next we go to the number 5. The end of the pollen tube will secrete an enzyme to digest the tissue of the style. Okay, so now, okay, how does the pollen tube move down the style? Okay, so the pollen tube, the end of the pollen tube will produce or will secrete an enzyme. So when it secretes an enzyme, it will digest the tissue of the style and then it will move down to the embryo sac. Okay, so what is the embryo sac? Embryo sac is a part of the ovule that contain a female gamete, yeah, or egg cell. Okay, so number 6. When it reaches the embryo sac, yeah, the pollen tube will penetrate the ovule through the micropyle. Right? Okay, so the pollen tube will penetrate into the ovule through micropyle. Okay, and then the tube nucleus will degenerate. Yeah, the tube nucleus, nucleus will degenerate. Yeah, dia akan hilang, dia akan hancur. Then both male gametes enter the embryo sac. Okay, so when the tube nucleus degenerate, it will allow the male gamete to enter the embryo sac. Okay, so these processes are referred to the formation of the pollen tube and male gamete. Right? Okay, so after this, we will continue with the next process. What happened after the male gametes enter into the embryo sac? Okay, so what happened? Yeah, what happened? Yeah, okay. Next, okay, we go to the diagram here. So this is referred to the tube nucleus just now. Yeah, okay. So once the pollen tube reach the embryo sac, okay, so the tube nucleus will degenerate. So this is referred to the male gamete. Yeah, male gamete. Okay, dari mana datangnya male gamete? from the division of the generative nucleus by mitosis just now. Yeah. Okay. So yeah. Okay, we repeat again. Number one, yeah. When it reaches the embryo sac, the pollen tube will penetrate the ovule through the micropyle, and then the tube nucleus will degenerate, and both male gametes enter the embryo sac. Right? So they will, so these two male gametes will enter the embryo sac. So this is referred to the embryo sac. So this is referred to the ovule. Alright, ovule. So inside the ovule there is embryo sac. Okay, number two. Right, okay, so one of the male gamete fertilize the egg cell. Yeah, one of the male gamete will fertilize the egg cell. Okay, alright, so and produce a diploid zygote. A diploid zygote. Right, so what happened here? There is a two male gamete that enter into the embryo sac. So one of them will fertilize the egg cell. Okay, which one is the egg cell? So this is referred to the egg cell. Yeah, so the male gamete that enter into the embryo sac will fertilize the egg cell here. Right, egg cell is haploid, the male gamete is haploid, so fertilization occurs. Yeah, fertilization occur and will produce the zygote. So the zygote is diploid 2N. Okay, why 2N? Because male gamete is haploid, egg cell is haploid, so it will produce diploid zygote. Okay, the another male gamete. Yeah, the another male gamete here. So this is the first male gamete. So this is the second male. Okay, the second male gamete fused with the two polar nuclei. Alright, so this is referred to the two polar nuclei. Alright, okay, the second male gamete will fuse with the two polar nuclei here. And then, okay, it will form triploid endosperm nucleus. Why triploid? Ya, kenapa dia triploid? Because the polar nuclei here, there is two polar nuclei. Right, two. So, one end, yeah, and then another one end, and then fused with a second male gamete also one end. So there is three end. Yeah, when three end we call as triploid. Yeah, triploid. So after it will call as triploid endosperm nucleus. Alright. So what the process occurred just now? So the process here we can call as double fertilization. Okay, why double? Okay, why double? Double because it involves two male gametes. Okay, double because the fertilization involves two male gametes. Okay, two male gametes. First male gamete fertilize the egg cell, forming diploid zygote. Another second male gamete will fertilize polar nuclei. Yeah, will form triploid endosperm. Okay, so please remember the process of the double fertilization. Okay, so double fertilization only occur in the flowering plant, not the human. Right? Okay, in the flowering plant only. Right? So that's all for now. I hope you can understand, yeah, the process of the formation of the pollen tube, and then also the process of the double fertilization. So at the end, what happened? Fertilization occur. Fertilization occur that produce a diploid zygote and also triploid endosperm. Okay, and then later in the next subtopic, we will discuss more about that. Alright, okay, so tolong baca balik ya, tolong baca, tolong ulang balik video cikgu ni ya, sampai you understand the concept of the pollination, formation of the pollen tube, and also double fertilization. Okay, that's all for now. Alright, okay, stay safe everyone. Thank you.